Hi.
Well, happy Christmas Eve, everyone.
Well,
Totally Christmas Eve, right?
it's
Is
the
that what
holiday season.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. You can tell by the nip in the air and the carolers that
Somewhere
it's
in the universe is Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
totally Christmas.
Have you guys heard the Santa Cracker? Where's Santa? I don't.
Somewhere in space-time, it's always
Yeah.
Christmas Eve.
Yep, somewhere in space-time it is currently Christmas Eve.
It is. It's a brisk 75 degrees here in LA. Ooh.
Whew, it's a chill in the air.
Yeah.
All right. I paid good money for that show. Hired a guy to blast fake snow at my house. All right, here we go.
Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt is brought to you by loyal patrons like you. If that's not you, head on over to bit.ly/helpdtns because giving a little always helps a lot. That's bit.ly/helpdtns.
This is the Daily Tech News Show for Wednesday, December 24th, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, I have three special guests for a special show called New in 2014. Now, we're going to be talking about things that were new in technology in 2014, but also all four of us had new projects that we started in 2014, starting with Mr. Lamar Wilson, YouTuber and DTNS regular. How's it going, Lamar?
Going great, man. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Also joining us, Roberto Villegas, host of My So-Called 8-Bit Life. How you been, man?
Doing good, Tom. Doing good. Can't complain.
You probably could. I believe in you.
Okay. Just saying.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get you complaining by the end of this episode. You know what was new that bugged me in 2014?
Do you want me to be the Dvorak of this episode, Tom? Because I could be the Dvorak of this episode.
We should have a little Dvorak doll that we just pass around. But, you can't be grumpy unless you're holding the Dvorak.
You have to summon spirit.
Yeah. Also joining us, Richard Straffolino, host of the Novelization Realization podcast and Clevelander of note. You might know him as Rich from lovely Cleveland. This is Rich.
How's it going, Tom?
Good, man. Really enjoyed being on your podcast, and now that I've had to say it a couple times today, really glad that I didn't have to say it when I was on the Novelization Realization podcast.
I have a history of naming things in unwieldy ways, so I'm just happy to continue the tradition.
It's a really cool show, though. Folks should definitely check it out. I was lucky enough. I feel greedy that we got to do the Star Wars novelization. That was fun.
Well, I had to do something to reel you in, Tom, so.
Yeah, no, it worked, believe me. All right, well, we got no headlines today. This is a special episode. We'll be doing these all for the next couple of weeks. As I have become a tradition both at Buzz Out Loud and Tech News today, I'll be doing a predictions show, a predictions results show, a best of show. But there's always one show that's a little new, and in fact, we made it extra new with New in 2014. Let's start out with something that we started talking about right before the show started, which is the things that happened to game consoles basically turned the Xbox One into something new. Now, the PS4 and the Xbox One both came out in 2013. We're not trying to pretend like they came out in 2014. But lots of things happened with them in 2014. And if you're not a video gamer, hang in there. We've got lots of other topics other than video games. But Roberto, you were making some pretty good points about this right before we started.
Well, because I was thinking, because if I think about what was new for me in 2014, it basically was video games, and the next gen consoles really came into their own. Not just because they were, yes, they were released November, but this year we got Sunset Overdrive, we got a new Assassin's Creed. We essentially got all the big titles that really sold it, and the fact that we even got a price drop near the end of the year really says how much these systems are trying to push themselves now.
Yeah, and they unbundled the Kinect
Yep.
on the Xbox One. Lamar, you were basically they should have called it the Xbox 720 by the end of this year.
Yeah, because they completely changed their course. If you listen to them in 2013 when they did their announcement, I believe it was at E3 first, it was TV. There even was a cut that was made of how many times they said TV or television. And, they got blowback from that, but they kept going until they realized that Sony was killing them. in sales, literally, and so they reversed course. They're like, "Oh, don't worry about the TV. Let's get some actual games out here," and so they completely reversed.
That's what I thought was interesting, is that Sony is really controlling kind of the narrative of where the next gen's going. I remember I was kind of a PS3 fanboy, especially when it first came out, and I just always remember, kind of 360 kind of eating its lunch constantly, pretty much throughout its life. I mean, you had obviously some exclusives, but for me, this is very interesting seeing kind of Sony being the lead horse, at least so far in the next-gen console race. For me, though, what's kind of more interesting toward the end of the year is, even though there's all these great games coming out for PS3 or PS4 and the Xbox One, how Nintendo is still kind of getting its foot in the door with a lot of, like, just having great software titles. I mean,
Oh yeah, like Smash was. Sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, that's fine. I'm just, with Smash Brothers, obviously Mario's great. There was even some hype for the new Zelda game that's not even going to come out for almost 2 years, and that's already getting like a huge amount of buzz. So I found that really interesting, that Nintendo was still able to at least seem kind of relevant.
Yeah, one thing I've been very disappointed about with the, I guess maybe disappointed is a strong word, but for the next gen consoles is that I think they came out a year too soon. So they don't feel like a big departure if you came from a PS3 to a PS4. I mean, there's almost only so much you can do with graphics, but it doesn't feel like, oh man, this is a completely new thing that I'm using here. Whereas Nintendo is, it is what it is, and has always been a fresh console. And 2014 really was the year of Nintendo in terms of such great games coming out. So it's going to be an interesting race going forward to 2015.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about it that way, right? The Wii U got a new lease on life, as did the Xbox One. It's the PS4 is the most boring console of 2014 in that respect.
Yeah, but I mean, even on even on the portable side, Nintendo did a great job. Like, I was thinking of most of the games I played in 2014 before I purchased a Wii U for Smash and a couple other things, and like one of my top titles was a 3DS game, Bravely Default, by Square Enix. And that like sold through the roof, and in fact so much so that it like brought back like JRPGs here in the States. So it's kind of funny when I think about all the games I played, a lot of them were either PC or 3DS.
Yeah, I'm a big 3DS fan, and they came out with so many great games, and it continued to. Even some family titles like Tamagotchi Life, and and going forward, they got Kirby. Did Kirby come out this year? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I have to double check, but yeah, that's coming out. But we got Smash for 3DS. We got so much.
Yeah, it's kicking butt. So and this is not a knock on Sony, but I think, Tom, you're onto something. It's a great console, but it's blah. It's just it's just what it is. It just does that. And I guess we're expecting our consoles nowadays to do so much more, but it's nothing fancy or sexy about it. That's just the best way to say it. It's a great console.
Although Sony did point to the future, one new thing we got from them this year was Sony Project Morpheus, which is their Oculus VR headset competitor. And when I say we got them to tell us they're doing it. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah. Can we say that 2014 is the year of VR?
Yeah, I mean, Oculus VR kicked us off with a look at Crystal Cove at CES, and then they made that an actual shippable development kit later on in the year. They got bought by Facebook this year. You may have already gotten used to them being a Facebook property, but that wasn't true when they showed off Crystal Cove at CES at the beginning of the year. Then we got Oculus cooperating with Samsung on the Samsung Gear VR, which just came out earlier this month for the Galaxy Note 4, and Google with their Cardboard virtual reality app, which they updated earlier this month as well. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of the year of VR potential.
I was just gonna say that, Tom. It seems actually it reminds me of where smartwatches were kind of last year, where it was we were hearing about all these great things. There's still really no. I mean, we keep seeing these great demos of people stumbling around and trying to hack like a dummy or something like that, like a dragon coming down and killing somebody. But we still don't have necessarily a great implementation necessarily. I think everyone's kind of waiting for Oculus really to release a consumer-based model for them to kind of wanting to put some money down. You got Samsung really anxious, it seems like, to try and get in that space too. But it's right now it's still, for me, this year was all about the potential of VR and showing that multiple companies are interested in it, which is a good sign. but I'm still I still want to see where it's going to go, how anxious people are going to be long term to be wearing like these giant headsets. I mean, that's what killed 3D TV.
Yeah, what I'm nervous about with VR is just it's kind of similar to what you just said. People will get these things, but on a more level, like I'm looking at myself, I get this, and I feel it'll be like the Wii many years ago, where I'll use it for a few sessions, and then it's going to sit there and collect dust. And unless you got some really exciting titles or something that's completely different, it's just a novelty that might be too expensive, or like my Google Glass that literally is in a box in a closet in there, and I pay $1,500 for it. And that's what I'm worried about for VR.
See, what I'm most excited for is all the indie guys coming into the whole VR space and the Oculus space, because a lot of the things that I'm interested in playing, if I ever get an Oculus Rift, are not AAA games. A lot of them are these indie developers, these guys doing these weird things. I think there's one that's like kind of like black hat kind of cyber robbery game where like one portion of the player is in the VR world, the other one's on another computer, like, looking at things, helping him kind of break into the arena. And this is from like, some game jam that some indie dev did. And like that's what makes me very excited about VR isn't so much like the guys like EA or even Blizzard coming in, but people like, that develop all these sort of weird, sort of kooky games that really take advantage of the 3D space.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's Cast AR, which did finally put out a prototype. Those are the folks that spun out of Valve. There's also, I think, is it Magic Leap, the one that is total vaporware, but everybody keeps investing money? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we've definitely moved from virtual reality being vaporware to being for certain, like, this is going to happen. The products are going to be out there. But like you say, the big question is going to be, do we want it? Will we buy it? How and in how much? Or
and
will
how to
something
make it not gimmicky? I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, will something like Magic Leap, which is purporting to do it without a big headset, actually become a reality and just pass by all of these things? Will these seem funny in retrospect that we ever thought they would be the next big wave? Because that one criticism that I keep hearing is like, yeah, but I don't want to wear a big thing on my head. Right. Which I tend to want to dismiss because I'm like, yeah, but if it gives you a great experience, you'll just be in your living room. It's not like you're walking around on the street. But if Magic Leap happens and you are wearing like a very, unobtrusive small thing and you can use it wherever you are without people knowing, suddenly that's a lot more compelling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I actually think the big challenge is going to be how to make it a communal experience, how you can bring in, you have multiple people necessarily, maybe even sitting in a room. I haven't seen necessarily any companies debuting that, because I think that's going to get over a lot of the awkwardness of like, so you're just walking in a room and someone's sitting there with this giant set of goggles on, and kind of getting into the Wii phenomenon. Make it a party thing, make it something that you can come together and do. And obviously that's not going to be for every single title, but I feel like that could be the killer app, or at least the killer conception for VR.
Yeah, I mean, if you make it social, so that you can meet people, you can watch videos, you can do things in space. Pretty much you just need to add a feeding tube, plug you into the wall, and we got the Matrix.
This sounds like a social network, Tom.
Yeah, I wonder if a social network owns something like this.
Yeah.
Kind of book-based network? I don't, yeah.
Run quickly, people.
We need to get a Tinder app on that. That'll be perfect.
That will be the death of everything.
You just turn your head to the left or to the right.
We've all been dancing around the real issue, which is whichever one of these platforms the porn industry picks is going.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I didn't know if you were scold me for that. So.
No.
Tom. We're trying to find the new stuff, not the thing that we know is going to be the killer app.
But they picked Betamax, they picked Blu-ray. Like, come on.
Of course, that inevitably leads to the problem.
I said they picked Betamax. They picked VHS, which is why Betamax didn't win.
Tom.
Real quickly before we get off gaming, casual gaming had a couple of big stories. One was Flappy Bird. Don Wayne having a huge hit, which I think actually hit the App Store before 2014, but his whole I'm tired of this, I can't do it, I'm going to pull it from the store and I'm going to leave the scene, and then his return to the scene later in the year all happened and was new. He was definitely new in 2014. Threes came out this year, and then 2048, sort of an open source, some say ripoff, some say homage of Threes. came out as well.
Also, for my money, dots, the dots and two dots,
Oh, yeah, dots
coming out were huge in my household. That was just huge fun. But I find the Flappy Bird story kind of brought in the idea of a non-Western-centric kind of culture into the tech space, which I thought was really interesting. There was a really great discussion. I forget who you had on. It was a journalist who had spent some time in Vietnam.
Sure, it was Eric Olander.
Yeah, and it was a really great conversation about kind of the cultural values there and how that led into that, and how a lot of media outlets here were representing it in kind of a different way. And I thought that led to a really great conversation of a non-Western-centric idea of how tech affects culture. I thought that was really cool.
You know what else was new? This is a real minor topic, but we got new open internet guidelines that solved the entire net neutrality issue. It just went away.
It's over.
Tom Wheeler issued them. Everyone said, yep, those make sense, and that was it.
Tom, I think that's been a weird year.
Oh, wait, that was my prediction. No.
Yeah. Exactly. You're reading the wrong lines.
My wishful thinking. So, no, it's not like net neutrality was new this year, but these internet guidelines were new, and definitely mass consciousness of this and it becoming a political football was new.
Yeah, last I saw, the count on the comments on the FCC page were up to like 1.3 million or above that. The last source I was checking out today. So I mean, just such a hot button issue, and this kind of leads into the debate with net neutrality in 2014. I think was all about a little bit obviously the politicization of net neutrality, but also the nuances of net neutrality. I think it's been really easy for a lot of years for people to say net neutrality, dumb pipes, let me get my content, don't prioritize it. But now with all of the talk of peering, of internet backbones kind of coming more into the consciousness, it's becoming a little bit more of a nuanced debate and not as easy a sell. And that's why I was really happy to see people still coming out in millions of people taking a very active interest in this. But for me, the story of net neutrality outside of a particular FCC guidelines was just the nuances. I thought that was it could be trouble down the road. It makes it a harder sell for me to tell my mom about like why she should support net neutrality because peering's not whatever. It gets very, very technical very, very quickly. So I think that's going to be something very interesting to see coming up next year.
Yeah, this was the year that definitely a lot of people learned how the cloud actually truly honestly works and learned a lot more than just simply, oh, it's my cable connection. It's like, no, there's at least 3 other things between you and Netflix, and you'll never know truly what those 3 things are at any given point in time. What I really love is that it became enough of a story that they actually put it to mainstream media. I know that we as geeks kind of keep up with it and know it, but it was enough where the president came out and said, you guys got to solve this, and that means a lot when it comes to this whole net neutrality idea. And I think he even brought up the whole peering thing too as well into the mix.
Yeah, well, he mentioned that the peering thing should be solved. He also said how he thought that should be solved, which caused a hornet's nest. I think Tom Wheeler felt like he was closing in on a compromise solution until the president spoke up. And now everyone assumes that Title II reclassification, which was off the board, it was not going to happen, is now what is most likely to happen. I still don't think that's what's going to happen because the entrenched interests of the telecommunication companies, and just a couple days ago, the telecommunication equipment manufacturers came out against it. There's just too much money on the side against that, and I think that's why Wheeler kicked it down the road to 2015. He's like, I can't solve it this year. It's just not going to happen.
I also really enjoyed with the whole FCC guidelines, just the idea of the character of Tom Wheeler has kind of come to the fore with John Oliver's, calling him a dingo, and he going on record, in a public statement saying I am not a dingo, and just kind of like the weird subtle character analysis that's been going on. Oh, he works for the telecoms, but he's retired from them. So video
of the people showing up in his driveway.
No, oh God,
you should look this up. A bunch of protesters, like about 5 of them, not too many, showed up and blocked his car, like sat in front of it. And so he actually posed with them for a picture, hung out with them, tried to talk to them, and they're like, just because you're doing a picture with us doesn't mean that we're not serious about it. He's like, okay guys, can I go now? Like he spent like a half hour with them, and he drives a PT Cruiser. Like it was just when you talk about the character of Tom Wheeler, it was just like the guy is definitely sympathetic in a lot of ways. I mean, and that could be the insidiousness of it if you think that he's entirely wrong, is because he is a former lobbyist, etc. But I really do get the impression that Wheeler may not have a principled approach to this, but he really does want to make all the parties happy. Not just the telecommunications company. He wants to make the content companies. He wants to make the users, the 4 million people. He wants to find a solution that helps everybody out.
See, I don't think he's going to find it. That's my only fear, is I think he's not going to be able to find a solution that's going to help anyone, because everybody wants everything. Like, we want, completely open dumb pipes. Everyone wants the idea of prioritized traffic. We got this. We got everything kind of in this amalgamation of net neutrality. And I think any decision Wheeler's going to make, it's a matter of, okay, I know I'm going to get sued for this. How much am I going to get sued, and can I win that case? Like, that's basically why I think why he's kicking it 2015. It has nothing to do with, I can't solve it, just like, I know I'm going to get sued. Which of these options is going to make sure that I can at least win this in court?
Which gets me sued the least?
Exactly. Which gets me sued the least? Which is at least my win condition? If I get sued here, he's basically like, it's a chessboard. It's like, okay, if I make this move here, they're going to try to go here, and I got to defend over there. Like, it's a matter of just figuring out how to move all that to get the checkmate, whatever that means.
Lamar, you've got the solution to this. I know you do. Just come out with it.
I've been quiet because if I tell you, then they're gonna take it away from me. I don't get paid. I've been quiet in it because I am not as knowledgeable as I should be on the subject, so I don't want to sound like an idiot trying to understand this.
Unlike everyone else in the net neutrality debate, Lamar's actually trying to be honest.
Yeah, I admittedly haven't, because it's so many conflicting sides and parts to it, and you got the telco's got their side and they're lying back and forth, and you got the government, and I just don't know who to believe in it. I mean, I understand the basics of it. I just don't know who to trust in this and what the end result is going to be.
That's one of the problems with the whole debate. Yeah. It's been way
Lamar,
too
it's real easy. As Ted Cruz said, Comcast are the innovators. They're the people that are making changes in technology that are bringing you all these great advances.
Okay.
Right.
Then that's it. Okay.
I mean, look at it. Comcast brought you Google and Netflix and Yahoo and
great taped phone calls.
I don't think that's how it worked.
And they invented the phonograph.
Yes. Did they, Tom?
Yes. Look it up. Please don't look it up. We got a new company this year. I don't know if you saw this, you guys. You probably noticed it. It's a company that does hardware and software. They're very into a cross-platform approach on their software, very much trying to tie in the power of the cloud while making best-in-class hardware and providing enterprise solutions. It's the best new company I've seen forever. It's called Microsoft.
Wow. Oh, I get it. Because software.
Yeah.
And micro, because you never heard of them before. It was so small.
They're small and nimble.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. See, I laugh because I work in enterprise tech, as my day job, and I get inundated with nothing but Microsoft stuff. I laugh because it's funny because I've known about things like Azure for a while. I've known about a lot of these advancements, and a lot of this stuff has been there in the back end, just has not been in the foreground yet in the kind of consumer market. And I think this is hopefully going to be the year Microsoft gets more of that, at least.
Well, let me explain a little bit of that, why that is, very quickly. Satya Nadella, the new CEO of Microsoft, who's new in 2014, he took over the job. Don't forget, Steve Ballmer was the CEO of Microsoft on January 1, 2014. Satya Nadella came in this year, and he was the guy who ran Azure. So he's dragged that into the public consciousness and also changed the strategy of saying, yeah, we're going to put Office out for the iPad. We're not going to wait for it to come to the Surface. In fact, it still hasn't come to the Surface, at least not the version that they want. Windows 10, the changing of the name of SkyDrive to OneDrive, all of that stuff happened this year under Satya Nadella.
Do you think?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, you talk about Azure. I remember seeing an ad that was saying that Titanfall was all the servers were hosted on Azure. They put that big front and center.
The servers were good for Titanfall. I'm the only one who played it, but it was a great game.
No. Tons of people played the beta, Lamar.
Yeah.
It's still, that game holds a special place in my heart. I can't believe people don't like it. But no, I was gonna say about Nadella. I wonder. I don't know if you all agree with me. I feel he's come in, but you can't make that many changes in a big company like that unless things have already been in the works. Do you think Gates is really still pulling the strings behind him? And because I feel like Gates probably couldn't pull the strings of Ballmer as much because just the way he is. I feel like this is Gates' guy, and he's trying to get his company back on track somehow.
For me, just this year, Microsoft, everything they've done seems like such a radical shift from kind of what I would be expecting. That there has to be some greater influence. I don't know if it's by getting rid of Ballmer, by Ballmer stepping down and becoming a basketball owner, that he can't, like, that it gave them more leverage with shareholders, or something like that, to make these radical changes. But it was just like, this is a story of 2014 for me, is kind of the reinvention of Microsoft and making them into like this oddly exciting company. And it's really weird as like a former Linux hippie to be saying that, to like when it was like the shift from Microsoft from being an inevitable company where it's like you can't avoid them, you have to use them, you have no choice, going to a company that has to kind of make you want to use them by being everywhere, by being on every platform. It's just a huge shift conceptually for the company and kind of my perception of them. So I don't know if you can necessarily say this was all planned ahead of time, like that Gates necessarily is 100% guiding this. I definitely feel like there's a big stamp of Satya Nadella's impact on the company. At least, I mean, that's just how I'm reading it. But
well, because I think the world has completely changed. Even when, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a Gates influence, but I mean, there's a Gates kind of spirit. Because like if I think of Azure now, like you can, I just say it as a cloud kind of platform. They have really pushed that. Like, I mean, they're pushing it last year, but they really pushed it this year in the idea of like, yeah, you can host Linux, you can host any Windows server you'd like, all these kind of different versions, things like that, and they make it very much like their competitor to Amazon Web Services, and they're really pushing that. Whereas last year they probably weren't. It was there, it existed, but they didn't really kind of give it that oomph it needed. Whereas this year, I think because of how the entire landscape of just web hosting and sort of web servers and digital consumption as a whole has changed. That's sort of why they have to push it. So I think that there's the spirit of Gates and the idea of that we got to innovate, we got to push forward, we got to adjust to wherever the market is and try new things and not be afraid to try new things. But I don't know if there's like this, puppet master of Bill Gates kind of controlling everything.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that Nadella is more like Gates. So in a way, it means that Gates doesn't have to do as much controlling. I think Gates probably did try to steer Steve Ballmer, and I think you're absolutely right that he is very difficult to steer. But they have such an old relationship that Gates was probably able to apply some pressure, and that may have been one of the problems with Ballmer, is that he was trying to take Microsoft in a direction that Gates and a few other people were like, I'm not sure we'll let you take us there because you're Ballmer, but we're going to drag our heels. And the company just feels like it all is pulling more in the same direction that it used to. I'm sure it's not entirely that way. It's too big of a company. But it just feels like it has a more coherent message than it has had in a while. And all of that thought about what, Gates is going to have more of a role. He's actually going to be in the office more and stuff has just disappeared. I haven't heard anyone talking about that at all since Nadella actually took over. So I think they're actually getting the best out of Gates that they wanted, the things they wanted, but Nadella is able to just steer the ship because he's of a like mind, maybe?
Yeah. The last thing I want to say about Microsoft is really that in regards to the phones, I thought it was a disappointing year for them, and I don't mean on the quality of the phones. They're damn good phones. The issue is, first of all, getting public perception of them changed, of Windows phones, and like Apple, since they now they have Nokia, they control hardware. They need to pull the carriers out of controlling updates because they had some great phones that came out this year, that Verizon refused to do updates for, and they're still sitting there in a wasteland, like the Icon and a few other ones. They really got to put their foot down and say, hey, we're Microsoft. We're going to control the whole experience, because they have a company now that allows them to do that. Google had that opportunity with Motorola, and they sold it away. I think that's the only way that you're going to be successful going forward. It is, I hate to say the Apple model if you're not an Apple fan, but that really is what works as far as updates and keeping things coherent.
That's been Microsoft's big issue in general. It's been the constant story thread of them fighting with OEM providers. Like, they have to dance this delicate line. They do with Windows all the time, especially when the Surface came out. They were dancing that delicate line.
Yeah, they did.
Arguably poorly.
Yeah, arguably poorly, but they had to dance it because the biggest sale when it comes to PCs isn't Microsoft stuff, because they don't control the environment and stuff like that. And so they've had to just dance that line so badly. And even like Windows Phone is in that kind of situation. They've got HTC as other people make it, things like that. And I kind of feel that I hope Microsoft will change that stance and start really pushing things. I think once once Windows 10 comes out, that will be pretty much the marker of where things are going to go and how much that experience is going to get controlled.
Well, as someone who's used is it the RT, Tom?
Yeah,
the RT.
Yeah, that was it. This is my. I actually should charge it because I can't turn it on.
Which drawer did you take that out of?
That's just sitting within arm's reach.
Sure wasn't sure that's not a prop in the background, like right next to the Altier.
It kind of is, yeah.
But I've actually been using.
Here's what it's been sitting next to. Oh, Timex Sinclair and the original Amazon Kindle.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've actually been using a Verizon HTC 8X for the last 4 months, and there is kind of a cheat that Microsoft came up with. They have like a developer app where you can download that. You basically get 8.1, which actually makes the phone vastly more usable. It's borderline unusable at Windows Phone 8, but at 8.1, it's actually a fairly robust system. There's some weird quirks with notifications. For me, it's all about the software. I feel like that's completely dead. There is nothing there. They barely got Instagram on there, and it's still in beta, pulling a classic Gmail scheme there. But the Facebook app is Microsoft made. The Twitter app, I believe, it might be official, but it's very, very janky on a software front. Rock solid as an OS. I like a lot of the paradigms, and especially as someone in several fantasy football leagues, if I don't have my Yahoo Fantasy Football, it's not pretty. Mm-hmm. So the app front is just, it's kind of the old Palm story where, the hardware's pretty nice. Actually, this is the most comfortable phone that I've ever held in my hand, like in terms of just the ergonomics of it. But there's just not a lot I can do with it. And also, IE8 is kind of broken on it.
I really think that Lamar is right regarding hardware with Microsoft, but I think Nadella is doing the right thing in saying, let's not let our hardware hold back success in software, because software and the cloud particularly are probably where we'll succeed. And having best-in-class hardware, he's kind of stuck doing because they had already bought Nokia's handset division. But I think they really are serious about saying we want people to use Microsoft Office. That's the Windows of the near future for Microsoft, which is that's the cash cow.
Yeah.
The world caught on fire for Amazon this year.
No.
Oh, God.
Amazon started the fire and continued to put out versions of it. The Fire TV box came out, the Fire phone came out, and the Fire Stick came out to join the Amazon Kindle Fire for 4 Fires now. They also didn't name the Amazon Echo Fire, but they did name it Alexa rather than Echo when you speak to it. That's the little stand that's the voice recognition thing you have to be invited to buy.
Maybe because that's a hot name? Alexa?
Yeah.
Okay.
They realized that if they named the Echo the Fire, that would just be an echo of all their other product names.
Oh, that's another wonk right there.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay.
So
put into this conversation.
Don't tempt me, Roberto. Fire TV came out and it was okay. Fire Phone came out, was a flop. They basically had to like do a fire sale.
Oh!
Everyone else said that too. That wasn't me. And then the Fire Stick has actually sold really well, which is basically the Fire TV but smaller and therefore cheaper.
And also, Amazon keeps having sales where it's like cheaper than a Chromecast for like 2 days, and then it ships in 6 months.
Like I got mine for $11, I think, or something ridiculous, maybe 19.
It's
maybe
like Patreon money, Tom.
Yeah. Whoever pledged $19, you paid for the Fire Stick. It was probably a Cord Killer's patron that would pay. That makes more sense.
So when you think about the Fire TV, I like what they did, and I know they had to come up with one. But then I wondered, did they really? Because their apps are already darn good on all of they're on every console. They're on almost every box. The exception being Apple, of course.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know. I hate to use that term late to the game because I think you can be late and still be great. But it just feels like just yet another box. I mean, how many? Of course, for geeks like us, I mean, how many boxes are we gonna have? I have Chromecast and Apple TV. I don't want to get yet another box, and I have all 3 consoles, and so then it's just an overload of what to use. I know everybody's not in that situation, but I don't know. It's like what you said. It's an okay box. It's not anything that revolutionary with it besides the voice thing with the microphone. That's cute, but what is the box doing that 9 times out of 10 an average house already has something that does similar to that box?
See, I think the Stick was the one that probably was the product it should have made. But I mean, again, the box came out first, and that's sort of been our progression. When you go from boxes now to sticks, eventually we'll go to something else or whatnot.
It'll be embedded in the TV, yeah.
Well, you could argue either way. But beyond that point, I think where Amazon has its real big advantage is the whole Amazon experience. The idea that when you buy the Stick, if you're new to it, you get like 2 or a month worth of Prime, and that includes all the shipping stuff, all the video stuff, all the music stuff, mind you. There's a lot of things that come within the Amazon ecosystem once you kind of go into it that makes for some better experiences. I mean, I love when it comes to Netflix, I do enjoy it, but Amazon's television selection is way better. And that's very big to have. That they have the idea that their hardware is sort of marketed differently than everything else. It's I think if I'm not mistaken, Amazon runs a lot of their divisions as like almost separate businesses, where like the software people work here, the hardware people work here, and they all have their different goals and different kind of metrics to hit. And I think it's really showing, especially with at least the TV side of things. Maybe not so much the phone side, but definitely the TV side for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's what was weird about the Fire Phone for me is they had an opportunity to come in, and everybody had kind of been talking about an Amazon phone for a while. They had the App Store already kind of set up, and I think people were looking for a much more disruptive product. Kind of like, I mean, not that the Fire Stick is all that disruptive. I mean, Roku makes one. You can get a Chromecast for a comparable price of a Fire Stick on sale, but I think they were looking for something to come in at the price it's selling at now, which is $200 off contract, and looking for something to kind of disrupt the carriers, disrupt the phone market, and they just came out with $200 on contract, not all that spec'd up, gimmicky product features on a, some would argue crippled version of Android that doesn't have, the full Google payload of apps. So for me, it just seemed poorly conceived. But for me, this is the Kindle 1.0. The e-reader that was so ugly it's good. They'll probably take another crack at it. They'll probably learn from a lot of their mistakes, learn what worked, learn what didn't. I mean, there's no better company than Amazon. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, Roberto, when you talked about ecosystem, I think that goes back to what Richard says. That they have, I do like the Amazon ecosystem, but it's a broken component. You don't have the phone component in there, and I mean, it's not a phone anybody wants, as it's barely sold. If you're gonna have the ecosystem, you got to have the complete components around it to make it work. Because I would love to personally use it, but I can't justify using a phone with. It barely has the apps that most people want to use, and it's just not a good experience. I hope 2.0 cleans that up because they have everything right. They have the tablets, they have the TV experience, got a great selection of movies and TV, like you mentioned. They're so close.
Well, and the value for their tablets is kind of off the charts as long as you're willing to pay for Prime. I mean, they're the 7-inch one's like $99 or 150 or something like that.
Mhm.
You get the kid one that's all has a full warranty for anything like that. So the value side on the tablets is out of sight. So
Yeah.
I don't, I think they'll learn. I mean, you remember the original Fire tablet was kind of lackluster. It was a leftover playbook basically. So Amazon knows how to iterate, even if the first steps are awkward. But yeah, 2014, kind of a weird year for them, coming out with a couple new product categories and not exactly knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, I just feel like at this point in the game, you can't come out and say, "Oh, this is a half a product." I will come out 2.0, because then people say, "Well, you've had the model of Google, you've had the model of Apple all these years. Why are you coming out with something that looks like it came out in 2010?" Like, I wish they would have just stepped it up to the level everybody else was at the first time. They're a huge company with almost unlimited money, and it just makes me wonder why they didn't just do it right the first time.
For all we know, this phone could have been in development since 2010. I mean,
that's good. Fair point.
And especially what they were trying to do, like they were, trying to do some crazy thing of like, we'll have this sort of 3D interface and everything else, and I think the problem that Amazon has, and I think you mentioned it, Richard, a bit, you mentioned that there's not the full Google stack on there when it comes to an Android operating system, is that, again, they have to sort of, they're in that weird space of, yeah, we're using Android, but Android is Google's thing, and now because of Google Play and other things Google's doing, they're now a competitor with a lot of services that Amazon has, even on the cloud side of things, AWS and Google side of things. So it becomes this, we're using Android because it's the operating system that has developers on it and platform stuff, but we're not taking the Google stuff because they'll just take money out of us. I mean, that's why on the iOS side, and it sort of made me a little angry when they bought Comixology, that they just completely got rid of the in-app purchases.
And I think they banked too much on Mayday being a selling point.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mayday is the thing that's like, if you have a problem, you just press the Mayday button, and then a real person will talk to you. And we were all like, how are they going to staff that? Turns out how they were going to staff that is not having any phones sold. But it's also a problem.
One Mayday guy still in the server room.
It's also a problem to sell someone something on the anticipation that you're going to have a problem with it.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad somebody said that.
Well, and that's like such a home shopping network QVC feature, and it's a perfect sell for a tablet, but on a phone, I don't necessarily want to think like, I'm on a bus or something like that, I can't figure out how to do this on my phone. I'm not gonna call up Mayday weird person and have this weird awkward conversation with them. I'm gonna do that when I get home anyway. So why not pull up my tablet? Yeah, that's a weird feature
or
for a phone.
Web browser and Google search it.
Yeah, no, and for the people who would really need it, they start to think, well, why do I want your broken phone if I'm going to have to use Mayday all the time?
Yeah, exactly.
Apple, as always, had new stuff. I almost resisted to bring it up on a new in 2014 show because it's not new that they had new stuff, and the one new thing they announced, Watch, hasn't come out yet. But we did get a big iPhone, the iPhone 6 Plus, and a bigger iPhone, the iPhone 6, OS 10 Yosemite, a brand new operating system. But Apple I don't know about you guys. To me, Apple doesn't feel new this year, and I don't mean that in like it's disappointing. Even it just feels like, yeah, Apple just maintained.
Yeah, I have a thought about this, and I agree with you. I think they refined, which at a certain point, how much can you do with hardware, right? It gets to a point where you just kind of shave off here and there. But I think the biggest thing Apple did, and if I was a columnist, I would write an article about this. Continuity is very underrated, and I tell you what the magic behind that is. I've used it, and I don't even realize I'm using it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that makes it so important is that now you have to make a decision. As before you could have a Mac and have an Android tablet, have an Amazon phone. Now it's like, look, and we got a watch coming out. If you want the complete experience, you have to live in the Apple world. They finally got iCloud out that's working right for the most part. And so I think you're going to start seeing people splitting off now. I mean, there's always been the Android-Apple war, but now it's like, it might even diminish the war because you can't, Android person can't yell at me for buying an Apple Watch when I have an iPhone. It's like, well, it doesn't work with the ecosystem, so why would you yell at me about it? Is this you got your stuff, we got our stuff.
Lamar, you can put Hangouts on all your Apple products and then text message with all your Android friends just fine.
Okay, if you think Google Plus is going to be around that long,
wow.
But I don't know if does anybody agree about the continuity? I think that's a more
no. I
important.
was going to say the exact same thing. I adore continuity. It's funny. As we're kind of talking right now, I got a text message on the corner of my Yosemite thing, a friend of mine saying he's going to be late for something, and that's become such now part of my life. And replying and doing things like that, seeing phone calls answered here, that I probably, when it came to Yosemite, when it was announced, that feature was the feature I was looking so forward to, was the idea of having all this stuff kind of integrate. And it was the thing that made me kind of happy to be like, okay, I'm in the Mac world. Now I'm really in the Mac world. Like, my iPhone 6 has all the hookups and stuff like that. Like, I really think that is the killer feature that a lot of people don't quite understand is the killer feature.
Right, and handoff is part of that, right? Like when you take your iPhone away and start doing email. It just happens. I don't even I can't believe it's that easy. I don't think about it.
No, that's the point.
Well, and for me, using Windows Phone, that was the biggest disappointment. I was expecting. I was like, I have a Windows PC, I have a Windows Phone. Oh, there's nothing these two can do together. There was the universal apps. There's like 6. I mean, I'm not even joking, and one of them's not even IE, I don't think. So it's kind of ridiculous that, and hopefully Microsoft will do something with that. Android has all sorts of a billion different hacks to get that, or not hacks, but like apps and stuff that'll do similar things. But it is nice to have it all kind of centralized. And of course, the other big thing, Apple did was kind of validate the world of phablets that we are all now living in. That with the 6 Plus, obviously, I mean, it's kind of been talked to death. But it's kind of hard to find a phone now from anyone below 5 inches screen size with any kind of decent specs.
Yeah, it's a phabletous world we live in. I think that I'm totally with you, Lamar, on the brilliance of continuity was when I realized, oh, I'm actually IMing with my wife who's on her Android phone on OS X Yosemite, which I do with all of my iMessage friends for a long time. But it was just like I didn't even think about it. It's like, oh yeah, I get iMessages. Oh wait, this isn't iMessage. This is somebody else. However, I had that moment where I picked up my Nexus 7 and said, oh right, I can't get iMessage, and immediately said, oh, I'll just message her on Hangout. And that's why I brought up the Hangout thing, which is and yeah, Hangouts per se may or may not be the thing of the future, but if you have an Android phone, you're using Hangouts for your messaging, and that's where Apple may be a little behind the times, and I don't think it's something that's going to bite them anytime soon, but eventually SMS is not going to be the way people message. That's the wave of the future, is messaging on all these alternate WhatsApp, Snapchats, KakaoTalk, Line, etc. And so they're going to have to try to integrate those in to get those audiences, which are huge, who use those apps. Now, those apps available on iOS, can't get them on my desktop. Maybe that segment doesn't care about the desktop, and that may solve itself right there. But it's sort of kind of a museum piece to be inaugurating SMS into something.
Isn't that where Facebook kind of takes care of that?
Yeah, right. Facebook is certainly an alternative to that, for sure. Yeah.
And quick recommendation, if you're on Android, Mighty Text, that's been a pick on DTNS before, but kind of does the same thing. So, I mean, it's a little hacky. Sometimes the messages take a little bit to send, but, like I said, it's not as smooth. Obviously, that's what Apple prides itself on.
All right, before we wrap this up, I want to go around the horn and just find out. First of all, it could be something we already talked about, or it could be something we haven't talked about. Maybe your favorite thing, or the thing that sticks out most, thing that you were most excited about in 2014. And Rich, we'll start with you. What was the tech event that kind of just it's top of your mind for the year?
Well, when you first invited me to be on the show, Microsoft was the first company that kind of came to mind. But then looking back at the year, 2 real quick things. The split of HP I totally forgot about. Not that I think it really affects a lot of people, but it happened, and I think that's more significant than a lot of people will give it credit for.
It hasn't completed yet, though, right?
Okay.
I want to check that. I think it's still yet to actually They've announced it, but I don't know if it's actually like the stock has actually been split apart.
But for me,
yeah,
actually,
big announcement. You're right. Totally forgot about that.
But what I'm excited about is kind of the resurgence of T-Mobile. I'm always from being from Cleveland, I'm a huge fan of the underdog, and I was looking up their numbers. They gained 4 million subscribers, revenue rose 10%. They've had also the Un-carrier stuff started in 2013, but they really brought in a lot of stuff. They even just had an announcement, I think today or yesterday, about unlimited family plans that they're doing. So even though John Legere isn't necessarily the most subtle of CEOs, I think he's taking the company. He's being aggressive where he needs to. He's being disruptive. He's being innovative, and kind of pushing the industry in a lot of ways that I didn't foresee coming for a long time. And he's kind of held off 3 different merger attempts from various different parties, although the FCC kind of had a big hand in that as well. But yeah, definitely kind of T-Mobile being a major player again instead of being like kind of I don't know, a joke, but you know.
Yeah. Roberto, what about you? Top of mind, biggest thing that
honestly,
you will always think of 2014.
It's funny we go back to game. I go back to gaming. For me, it was the acquisition of Twitch, and how Twitch itself and game streaming as a whole has sort of come into its own now. I mean, the major consoles now can stream instantly to Twitch. I mean, the company that was Twitch, Justin TV, renamed itself and then shed off its Justin TV counterpart. And then got acquired by Amazon, and sort of this now big thing enough where I think Twitch during prime time is like at least one of the top 10 like most trafficked sites, and that's kind of crazy that is where we're in now. With the world we live in is that people are now watching other people playing games.
I watch it every night. I watch it every night. It's crazy.
No, yeah, I do too. I'm part of it. And I find that just so amazing. The idea of Let's Plays and all this stuff now becoming this whole thing, and it's probably for me the biggest thing, just because that's such a paradigm shift from sort of the previous way of playing games or solo experience or online multiplayer experience to now becoming a very much social experience, I should say.
Yeah, no, Twitch, it's funny to think, and I guess that's one of the reasons I didn't even think about it, was there was a big deal of, Google's going to buy Twitch.
Yep.
Then it didn't happen. Then Amazon bought Twitch, and it was like, what's going to happen to Twitch? And then it became nothing. Actually, Twitch is going to continue to be as awesomely Twitch as it's been.
Yeah, all Amazon gave them was a huge, giant Amazon Web Service cluster. And that's, and all the different Cloudflare stuff, all the different CDN stuff, all the basic infrastructure that you need when you have a bunch of people watching all these videos.
Yeah, amazing.
The evolution of Twitch. Because at the beginning of this year, it was Justin TV and Twitch, two little indie companies that were part of the same conglomerate.
And now it's just game streaming, Tom.
Yeah, now it's just Amazon game streaming. Lamar, what about you? What sticks out for you this year?
So I mean, there's so much, but I'm going to stay in the realm of gaming. And as a disclaimer, it has no impact on my decision. I am a Nintendo ambassador, but that I mean, I just help them with some stuff. But I
you help get into countries.
Yeah, I do. Exactly. Help them. They talk to the president through me. So I think this is the year of the Wii U's resurgence, and I know we talked about that, but I feel so strongly about it because it was such a, this is a kid's console, or this is only babies play with that, and they came back so hard this year with great titles. I mean, you think about Bayonetta 2, and 1 and 2 is completely out of Nintendo's character. I mean, it's a mature game that they finally cater to that mature audience, and then you have Smash Brothers, you have the Mario Kart 8. I mean, just fantastically clean 1080p. Whereas a lot of games are struggling, like for Ubisoft or others, to get 1080p 60 frames per second. Smash Brothers comes out, and easily is able to do stuff like that. And they just announced some great titles. I think they're going to get a lot of respect, and for some months, I believe, they were beating the Xbox One in sales, and before they did the cut. So Nintendo is, I think it's going to be a great year for them this year, and going to 2015. I think people are going to respect that console.
Yeah, getting a Wii U personally this year, like for me, I'd forgotten how much fun Nintendo was. Like, I adored Mario Kart 8. Smash Brothers for the Wii U was a phenomenal. I've been right now recently playing Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker.
Oh, same here.
It's
Love it.
so much fun.
Love it.
Bloomberg had a story just the other day on December 7th that at least 8 analysts raised profit estimates or ratings since September for Nintendo, with the 2 most recent calling for profit to triple to 36.8 billion yen in the year. So this isn't just Lamar being an ambassador. This is
I'm a Nintendo fanboy true and true.
Yeah.
I'm holding back right now, completely having a giant geek discussion on Nintendo just because I know we're at the time.
And it's the amiibos. The amiibos they're talking about selling crazy numbers.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that the 2 consoles that are seem to have a little bit of more momentum, the PS4 and the Wii U, both kind of have this extended ecosystem. You have a lot of interplay with the Vita on the PS4, doing a lot of streaming there. They're going to be doing the streaming to the phones, and then a lot of interaction. Like, Nintendo is embracing legacy on a level that I haven't seen. You can literally use a GameCube controller, and they're like, we're not going to make you hack it. We'll sell you the adapter, but we're still going to let you do. Like, that's just so bizarre to me, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, the adapter's like crazy too.
2 new big companies in 2014. This Microsoft and Nintendo.
Yes,
Now
brand new.
Where they go? These little upstarts. It's so fun.
Well, what's funny is Nintendo does the exact same thing every console generation, and we're always amazed that they pull it off. They just come out with like their great first-party titles. We're always nonplussed by the hardware, and it works.
That's not the GameCube. That little box will never work. Hey, that motion control is actually pretty good. Oh wait, Zelda? What? I'm in. Yeah, it's kind of the same pattern every time. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this. This was really fun. And as a way of saying goodbye, talk about a little bit about your new thing that you launched in 2014. Rich, starting with you.
Oh, sure. I do the Novelization Realization Project. We look at movie novelizations and the films that inspire them. That's the tagline. We're going to have, as of this recording on Christmas Eve, the Howard the Duck episode will be up, which is novelized by a New Yorker humorist and is very bizarre as is the movie. We've had Tom and Jenny on, fantastic episodes. Tom, I already mentioned Star Wars. Jenny did Back to the Future. So both of those are really great episodes. And I did an interview with Alan Dean Foster, which was really cool. Kind of a very famous name in sci-fi and all that good stuff. So it's at novelizationrealization.tumblr.com, or you can subscribe through iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you want to. And it's just been a ton of fun. I've read more mediocre prose than I ever have in my life, probably since the 5th grade. So it's a ton of fun to do. And can I plug one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I also do a radio show in Cleveland on WRUW FM 91.1 Cleveland. You can get it on TuneIn if you're super anxious, or if you live here, you can do it. It's called the MP3 Removal Squad, which again goes with my unwieldy titles, and it's an all-album show. Pretty much, it's mostly indie rock, but I will veer into Afro-Cuban jazz or dense electronica, just like a weird 2-hour ambient thing. So
Nice.
it can be pretty fun, and it's on from 6 to 8 a.m. every Sunday.
Excellent.
Right.
What were the call letters again?
WRUW, and it's hard to remember the frequency. It's either 911 or 911, so I don't expect a lot of people to remember.
I'm gonna have to find that on TuneIn because I gotta hear that.
Twitter.com/Mr. Anthropology, MrAnthropology. Roberto, what did you bring to us that was new in 2014?
Well, I mean, as a podcaster, I guess I launched a couple things. One of them being, of course, Life's been around for a while now, but I guess the new thing for me is cinematography. I've been doing a show with Brant Hughes, or better known as Gadawag, in the chat room and chat realm, respectively. Sort of this weird commentary on movies, but also just general discussion on movies. It's almost a here are 2 film aficionados talking about film and loving the whole thing of film. We just recently posted an episode where we break down a scene from 500 Days of Summer, the expectations versus reality, and it was all done very beautifully. Had a whole bunch of great graphics by Brant, and I guess that's been the newest thing I've done. That can be caught at cosmicradio.tv/cinematography. That's TALK. As the name implies. Beyond that, just the usual stuff: podcasting, making content, trying desperately to make it my day job, and doing all the things that required to do so.
Go check it out, cosmicradio.tv. And, of course, 8-Bit Life is the flagship show there, cosmicradio.tv/8bitlife with a number 8. And follow him on Twitter, twitter.com/Vincent404. And Lamar Wilson, kind of the same boat. Like, you've got lots of projects that are continuing on, but you had some new stuff, some cool stuff this year. Yeah.
2014 has been a great year for me. I've been on YouTube this month 6 years, and it's I've been able the last few years to make it my my full-time job, and it's definitely been a blessing. And I basically am a comedic entertainer who this year I originally talk about technology, of course, in a comedic way, but this year I've incorporated gaming, and that is something that's been a real passion for me, especially this year. And I've kind of copied what the beauty gurus do with their hauls.
I love the hauls. That's such a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I didn't realize how popular that was until YouTube kept pushing these beauty gurus. I was like, I finally watched the videos. I was like, these are just glorified unboxings. Tech guys have been doing this for years. So I kind of melded those two together, and people love them. They love the idea of whatever I'm going to either unbox or just showcase for them, whether they're new games or whatever. So I think that's really been the new thing. And going to 2015, I want to fine-tune that and make it a great product for people to enjoy.
Twitter.com/Lamar Wilson with 2 R's, and of course follow him on YouTube, youtube.com/Lamar Wilson. And subscribe, right? That's the YouTube.
That's the YouTube thing. Subscribe, and you might get it in your sub box. That's the YouTube way. You might get it.
Lamar, thanks so much, man. Thanks for all your support throughout the year too. You've been awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You're a good friend. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, man. It's a pleasure. This is my new thing. I've had a couple of new things, but this is the main one, Daily Tech News Show. So thanks to everybody who has joined us all year long. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support. If you would like to help the show continue and get better, we have all kinds of patrons out there helping us, all kinds of people just donating when they can, and all kinds of people helping in ways where like, I don't got a lot of cash, but can I make something for you? Can I just be consistent in the subreddit and help get people to clean up the spam or just vote stuff up, whatever. It's awesome. It's the best, smartest audience in the internet, in my opinion. Thank you, Diamond Club. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Our phone number, 512-593-DAILY. And our show is going to be live again January 2nd at mobile.alphageekradio.com. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Tomorrow's Christmas, so no DTNS. We're taking the day off, but we'll be back December 26th with the Listener Co-Host Show featuring Greg Skinner, James Thatcher, and Romana Chalons. Talk to you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I freaking love that.
To laugh